Bereshis, whole oilem, and Befrat Yedidi Reb Naftuli, he asked me to come and speak a few words. I'm sorry, I'm not fluent in German, and my mother language is English, so I'll use the language which I was brought up in. I'm not so used to speaking English, but I'll try. I want to start with a story I heard recently with two big Hasidic rabbis. Normally when you hear these stories, you probably think it's Riach HaKodesh. It might have been Riach HaKodesh, but the lesson of the story has nothing to do with Riach HaKodesh, and maybe we can connect it a bit to the time we're now. Svidas Oima, Achon of Kabbalas HaTorah, a week before Shvius already. We can connect it a bit to the matzah we're now. The story of a Triske Magid had a very good friend. They called her Mendel Mevulka. Two very good friends. They lived in the same town. They brought up together in the same town. And they learned yeshiva together. They got married. They learned after they married, learned together. And eventually, they each got a posten to run and become a roof in a town. The Triske Magid became a roof, became a rebbe. And the Mendel Mevulka also became a rebbe. And before they departed ways, they each went to their town to feel the oilem. They made up with each other. They wanted to keep connection one to each other. And there was no telephones, faxes, emails. It wasn't those things in those times. They wanted to have connection every week to know what's going on in his town, what's going on in his town. So they made up together that every week they'll send a letter. Triske Magid will write a letter. He'll give it to a shliach on Erev Shabbos. The shliach will run through the forest. The two towns weren't too far. He'll go to the Mendel Mevulka. He'll give him over the letter. The Mendel Mevulka write back a letter to Triske Magid, and that's how they'll keep a connection every week. Once a week, they'll write letters to each other, and that's how they kept on contact. They found the shliach. He was the shist of the shtut, the tailor, and he took on this avodas hakodesh to help these two tzaddikim that should be able to be connected one to each other. And every week in the morning, Friday morning, he came to Triske Magid, he took the letter, he ran to the forest, and he gave it over to the Mendel Mevulka, and he took back the letter from Mendel Mevulka back to Triske Magid. This went for 20 years, this minute, every week, there and back. One week, the shliach thought to himself, 20 years, I'm taking a letter from Triske Magid to the Mendel Mevulka. Maybe let me one time take a peek inside the letter and see what's written in this letter. Two tzaddikim writing to each other. I'm working so hard for them. He took on a shtickle heter. Maybe I'm allowed to look in the letter and see what are these two tzaddikim writing one to each other. So he was going, he had sort of yes, no, yes. Then he couldn't take the nisoin, and he started opening up the letter. He's in the middle of the forest, no one's there. He opens up the letter, and he almost fainted. He opens the letter. It's an empty piece of paper. He thought to himself, what? The Triske Magid's making a fool of me? 20 years I'm running from one town to the other town with an empty piece of paper? He was very upset. But he took his shlichus, he decided he's going to go to the Mendel Mevulka. He went through the town, he comes to the Mendel Mevulka, and finally he comes to the Mendel Mevulka, gives him the paper. The Mendel says, shkoyach for this paper. He takes him the paper and says, wait a few minutes. And he comes out and he gives him a piece of paper. Take it back to Triske Magid. So as you can imagine, he was back on the way back to the Triske Magid. Again, yes, no. He took out the piece of paper. As you can imagine, it was an empty piece of paper. He was totally tzibrochen. It's what they two tzaddikim. They had nothing to do with the choice of the shist of the shtut. He was very upset with this story. He comes back to the town, he goes to his Gemara, gives over the piece of paper, and he went home, went to bed. He didn't come to Shul at Shabbos. He was totally tzibrochen. Couldn't take the pain of the tzaddikim, making a fool of him. After Shabbos, the Triske Magid realized he wasn't in Shabbos, he wasn't in Shul. And Triske Magid told his Gabba, call the shist, he should come, I want to speak to him. Where is it? Everything's okay. So he came to Triske Magid, and Triske Magid asked him, no, Is everything okay? What's happening? Yeah. Let's get into a conversation. So Magi saw that he's very upset. So he told him, tell me, what's bothering you? Till he told Magi, you know what bothers me. You know what hurts me. So Magi said, what? So he confessed and he said, I opened up the letter and I saw you sending an empty piece of paper. Making a fool of me? What do you want from me? Just because I'm the shisi, you can make a choisik of me? The Triska Magid said, I want to explain to you. Me and Ramendel Mevuk are very, very close friends. For years, we understand each other. We're very close one to each other. And every week I write a letter to Ramendel Mevuk. I write to him how I'm feeling, how my avodas Hashem is going, how much I'm missing his help in my avodas HaKodesh. I write my feelings one to each other. It comes some weeks that I have so much to write, so much feelings to put in the letter, that I can't put it into words. I just can't get the right words on a piece of paper. So then I just send a blank piece of paper. And Ramendel Mevuk is so close to me. We're so close one with each other, that when he sees this piece of paper, he understands exactly what I mean by this piece of paper. And he feels what message I wanted to bring out. So he sends back an empty piece of paper, and then I really feel what he also feels, and that's how we can keep our connection one to each other. That's what the Tiska Magid was masbeh this story to this Yid. Forget, this piece of paper you brought now is the geschmacks, the letters that we could bring one to each other. We're really giving out our feelings that we can't bring into words. It says in Chazal, the Torah was given to us, Eish Shchoiro al Gaba Eish Levuna, which means the Torah was written black fire written on white fire. Today we call that black and white. It's not very interesting. It's one of the big nisyonim we have to teach Talmidim. Everything's black and white. There's always colors going on. It's much more interesting in other places than our black and white surah. But Chazal say there's some very important message in this. The Torah was given black fire written on white fire. What does that mean? What's this white fire and this black fire? What does it mean exactly? So I heard a more explanation with this story. Hashem gave us a Torah. There's haluchas in the Torah. Plenty of haluchas. One chimish, another pusik, a lot of haluchas in the Torah. Hashem gave us a mitzvah of Shabbos, mitzvah of Yom Tov, a lot of mitzvahs. The mitzvahs are very straight cut. You have to do this, don't do this. Very, what you do and what you don't have to do. But there's some message behind the mitzvahs. And this is the Chazal bring out here, that between the oisias, there's two types of letters. There's the black letters, which you see when you look at the words. And if you look in between every word, you see another shapes. The shapes are white oisias. Every letter, the tuf, has a letter like that. Every letter has another white letter inside. The black letters are written, words which we can understand, we know what we have to do. But Hashem gave us the Torah, He wanted us to connect to Him. Not just do the mitzvahs, keep Shabbos, put on tefillin, wear tzitzis. There's a message behind these mitzvahs. He wanted us to connect to Him. And that's why we say the Goyim, they can also learn Torah. The Eish Choyro, a Goy can also learn the Torah. But there's a Eish Levono. There's hidden messages in every word of the Torah, which this is the feelings which our neshumas feel to the mitzvahs of Hashem. And when a person learns the Torah as you're meant to, he's a daftizam, comes every night to Kol Lerev after a long, hard day, and he sits down, he learns Gemara. Sometimes he's learning Gemaras, which could be no connection. You don't see any connection to Yiddishkeit. You don't see any big, like important messages there. You're just learning Haluchas, Short, Geshtois Napur. You're not learning emotive messages. But every part of the Torah has this Eish Choyro. This is his black words. This is the straight forward cut with messages. And there's the Eish Levono. There's this message, these feelings, which our Shuma, when we learn the Torah, it connects us to Hashem. This is the Eish Levono. And this is when we do every mitzvah. Sometimes a person feels he comes to Shabbos, he feels a very big connection to Shabbos. He feels the Shabbos gives him a moedik, he feels very dehoiven. And sometimes we don't feel this. This Eish Levono we don't always feel. But in every part of the Torah there's always an Eish Levono, there's a message that Hashem couldn't write this down in words. This is feelings that come out. This is the beauty of Yiddishkeit, that Hashem gave us these feelings to Yiddishkeit. We should feel connected to Yiddishkeit, and these are these feelings that we have in the Eish Levonu. Every year we Makabel Torah from, again, we're not only Makabel the Eish Choyre, what we have to do and what we don't have to do. Every year there's another koich of Kabbalas HaTorah. We should be able to connect to the pnimis of the Torah, the feelings of the Torah. We should have that connection to the words of the Torah and be able to feel connected to this Eish Levonu, those feelings that Hashem couldn't bring down in words. He had to bring it out in these white letters. That's the feeling and the beauty we feel in Torah. I feel just in a few minutes, Hashem gave us a drushas hakduma to Kabbalas HaTorah. Hashem sent down Moshe Rabbeinu. The first day we came to Midbar Sinai, there was no drusha. The second day was Yom HaMichas. There was a drusha Moshe Rabbeinu gave to Klal Yisrael hakduma of Kabbalas HaTorah. Maybe we can learn these words a bit of Kabbalas HaTorah, a bit with the Eish Levonu, not only the Eish Choyre, a bit going to the words a bit, and be able to feel a bit connected to the words which Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu to tell the Yid. The pasuk starts like this: Atem re'isem. You saw Asher osisi leMitzrayim, which I did to the Mitzvim. Ve'eso eschem al kanfei neshurim, ve'uvi eschem Eloi. This is the first pasuk Moshe Rabbeinu told Klal Yisrael. We'll say first the Eish Choyre, and we'll try to go a bit the Eish Levonu. Atem re'isem. You saw what I did to the Mitzvah. You saw what punishments they got. You saw how the makas they got. You saw exactly what I did just because of Klal Yisrael. I picked you up on the wings of the eagle. And I brought you to me. I saw bringing from the Goan, he brings down on the word atem. Sometimes the Torah speaks Belushan Yuchit, and sometimes the Torah speaks atem, etz, to Klal Yisrael. When the Torah speaks Belushan Rabim, atem, the Torah means to speak to every Yid, not b'chilulis, to every Yid b'frutis. Hashem is giving us the Kabbalas HaTorah. He's giving us the Torah. He wants you to Makabel the Torah. The first message Hashem wanted to tell us when you're going to be Makabel the Torah, a person can have a feeling, there are so many Yidden doing mitzvahs, so many Yidden davening. So what's the big deal if I also daven, if I also put on tefillin? Hashem tells Klal Yisrael, the first word Moshe Rabbeinu says, don't think you're part of Klal Yisrael. Yeah, one of the, however many, there's 1 million Yidden, 2 million Yidden, I'm one of those 1 million Yidden. No, Atam. You. I'm waiting for you. I'm not waiting for Klal Yisrael to daven. I'm waiting for your davening. When you're lying in bed, you think you're getting up in the morning, and it's hard to get up in the morning. You want to sleep a bit, you just have to remember this message. Hashem tells Atem, I'm waiting for your davening. Please come, I want to hear your davening. I want to see your tefillin you're going to put on. Come to Beis Medrash, I'm waiting for you. Atem, there's not a minion davening at 7 o'clock, and I'm also part of the minion. No, you are davening. Atem, you are the person who's davening, and I'm connected to you. I'm waiting for your davening. That's the message Hashem is giving us in Atem. To understand it a bit with the mushal. My father was telling me, I have 6 favorite children. When I was a child, 6 favorite children. Couldn't really understand it. Till I was Baruch Hashem to have our own family. And that every kid is a oile mule. No father's going to say, okay, so 5 of my kids are okay, and this 6 kids struggling, so let him struggle. I've got 5 kids, Baruch Hashem, I'm happy. No, every kid is a oile mule. A father won't sleep at night. He'll give out all his money that he has. If he sees one kid having any issue, it's a health issue, a struggling issue, emotional issue, whatever it is, he'll give out all his money. You got 5 kids, so big deal, so 1 kid. No. Every kid is a favorite kid. And every kid, you're connected to every kid. A mushal, a father comes into a yeshiva, his son's learning in the Gross Media Yeshiva in Yerushalayim, and he wants to go visit his child. He wants to surprise his son, comes from America, give him a surprise, he's coming for Shviyas to Eretz Yisrael. He wants to surprise his son, doesn't tell him he's coming. He just arrives at the door of Mir, and he knows which Beis Medrash his son's learning in, and he stands at the door, and someone comes over to him, who are you looking for? So he says, I'm looking for my son. What's your son's name? Oh, he's Moshe. Moshe. Usually this time at 11 o'clock he's already finished learning for the day. He's already outside, he's buying papitas and he's enjoying himself. So the father says, my Moshe? He's not in Besmetish? So the Mashgiach tells, your Moshe, look, there are 300 bochum learning here, what a kol Torah is. It's a big deal, your son Moshe is not here. The father can faint on the place. This is the yeshiva my son's learning in? They're happy with 300 bochum, but my Moshe is not here? He's never going to be happy with that type of message. Where's my Moshe? I want my Moshe to be here. Hashem tells us, Achron of Kabbalah Torah. Let's read the words. Atam. Atam doesn't just mean at you. Atam means you personally. I want you to do the mitzvahs. I'm waiting for your Kabbalah Torah and your Kiyum mitzvahs. And that's how I'm speaking to you. I'm not speaking to Klal Yisrael b'chlulas. I'm speaking to you b'frutas. That's the first word Hashem gave us, Achron of Kabbalah Torah. So it's time's up. So Hashem should help us. That's Hashem. The Nayu of Kabbalah Torah, Shveit b'Kabbalah Torah, with the Eish Shchoyer, can mekayim the mitzvahs that we have to, and the Eish Levono, be connected to the mitzvahs, be connected to Shabbos, be connected to Tefillah, be connected to Tefillin, and we go to Shvias, and we mispal, so we sedaf tzazan, we daven, and we beit Hashem, we should be able to take a feel connected to His mitzvahs. Hashem will help us to have this connection, and we'll be able to feel this atom, that each one of us is so precious and so important for Hashem, and we should be able to be machshav our mitzvahs just as much as Hashem wants us to be machshav our mitzvahs. Happy Shabbos.